If you're anything like me, you've often wondered, how do they get those cool shots on the Hot Wheels track from the car's point of view? Well, that was me a year ago, watching some Hot Wheels POV videos from Backyard Racing, which if you haven't checked it out, go check out Backyard Racing, amazing channel. Now, they don't use the answer that I'm about to give to you, but the typical answer for getting those cool POV shots is using the GoPro Hero Session, mounted on the GoPro Zoom-In Hot Wheels car. The problem is, the GoPro Hero Session maxes out at 4K 30 frames per second with a little bit of stabilization, and it's only available refurbished or used. Now, I've tried several different ways to get that same shot with the GoPro Hero 8 that I've had for quite some time, but none of them worked out because the camera is too big, too heavy, and the lens is off-center. I have seen some people use the Insta360 Go, which is a great option because it's thin, it's very light, and the lens is center mounted. The problem is you have to be able to 3D print something, or you have to buy a specific mount for it to sit onto the Hot Wheels car. So I'm going to show you how I made my first camera car using the DJI Action 2. Now, it's actually a lot more simple than you might think. Now, before we get started, here's a list of items that you're going to need for this build. Tin snips, needle nose pliers, hot glue or super glue, or what I would recommend, silicone adhesive. It's waterproof and sets in 30 minutes, but for this example, I'm using hot glue. Galvanized steel tie plate. Don't worry, it's not nearly as expensive as it sounds. I got mine for 98 cents at Home Depot. C-clamp, metal file, and of course, you'll need the GoPro Zoom-In Hot Wheels car, and obviously the DJI Action 2. Also, if you're not an adult, make sure you have adult supervision and permission before using these tools, as some of them can be dangerous. Now, the main reason I chose to use the DJI Action 2 is because it's very similar in size to the GoPro Hero Session. It's just a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, but the lens is center to the weight of the camera, whether you're on vertical or horizontal. And the main reason that I chose to use this camera is because of its magnetic base, and we're going to be using that with this build. Love that sound. First, we're going to take our car and cut off the tabs that keep the GoPro Hero Session in place. The DJI Action 2 is 39mm by 39mm by 22.3mm. It's 1mm taller and wider than the GoPro Hero Session, and surprisingly, that does make a huge difference, simply because the Session has more rounded edges than the Action 2. However, the Action 2 is 14mm shallower than the GoPro Hero Session, so there will be some space front or back depending on where you place the camera. Next, we're going to take our needle nose pliers and stretch out the sides just a little bit. We have to make a tiny bit more room for the Action 2. Now be careful, you don't want to pull too far because it might break the sides off entirely. Next, we're going to cut a small piece off our tie plate. Mine measured at 3.5 centimeters by 3 centimeters, or 1 3/8 inch by 1 1/8 inch. You can use thicker steel if you want to have a heavier base and a stronger magnetic connection, but this was the cheapest and easiest option for me to work with. Plus, I didn't want the car to be too heavy since adding the camera weighs it down significantly. Plus, the track gives way when it's not supported when it's suspended in air. Make sure to file off the corners and edges of the metal tie plate because they will be sharp. Finally, we're going to slather a bunch of glue on the inside of the car and place our metal piece on top and clamp it down. If you're using hot glue like I am in this example, you will only need to clamp it down for a minute or so. If you're using super glue, the instructions will tell you how long to clamp it for. Be careful when clamping. You don't want the glue to get on the clamp, especially super glue, and not be able to remove the clamp. Also, you don't want to crush the car. Keep in mind, hot glue won't last forever. You will have to reapply the glue at some point. Also, the DJI Action 2 overheats rather quickly when you're using higher frame rates, so it could melt the glue like it has done for me. And now, depending on which glue you used, you have a camera car within minutes. Yes, the camera is going to fall off the car every now and then when the car takes a big tumble off the track. But I've seen people have that same issue with the GoPro Hero Session, even with that tab on the back of it, holding it in place. Plus, with the DJI Action 2, you can record up to 4K 120 frames per second with great stabilization, giving you a lot of flexibility with how you get your shots. Also, it's really easy to put back on the car. So now that you've got your very own camera car, I'd love to see what you can get on your own tracks. Send them to me on Facebook or Twitter at crisscrossdash on both. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. If you like this video, give it a big ol' thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I do have another video coming out soon with a new build that I'm working on for a new camera car. I have to do some more tests on it to make sure it works, but that'll be coming soon. So thank you for watching.